Have you ever noticed something? Some of the happiest husbands you meet, who seem the most content, the least stressed, the ones who genuinely enjoy being around their wives. A lot of them aren't trying to run the whole show. Now, I know that's probably not what you expected me to say. Honestly, I didn't believe it at first either. But after hearing enough stories and having enough conversations, I started noticing a pattern. A surprising number of men are quietly attracted to the idea of a wife-led marriage. Not publicly. You're probably not going to hear them brag about it at a backyard barbecue. But behind closed doors? That's a different story. And here's what really caught my attention. The reason has almost nothing to do with what most people assume. It's not a weakness. It's not that these men don't know how to lead. In fact, the men who seem drawn to this kind of relationship are often the very ones you'd expect to resist it. Stay with me because before this video is over, I'm going to reveal the one emotional need many men have spent their entire lives hiding, and why a wife-led marriage unexpectedly answers it. And if you watched my last video, you might already have a clue. If you didn't, you missed something important. I'm Dominique. You know, I think society tells men one of the biggest lies they'll ever hear. Work hard, handle the problems, take charge. Whatever you do, don't let anyone see you struggle. Sounds exhausting, doesn't it? Because somewhere along the way, a lot of men started believing they had to carry everything. The bills, the decisions, the pressure, the relationship, and never complain about any of it. When a man has a terrible day, who says, "I've got this one"? When he's worried about the future, who reminds him he doesn't have to solve every problem tonight? Think about that. I've talked to men in wife-led marriages, and their answers surprised me. They don't say, "My wife took over and I lost control." They say, "I stopped feeling like I had to do everything." That's a big difference. Now, I know some people are already thinking, "Come on, Dominique, men don't want that." Oh, maybe. That's what I thought too, until I started paying attention. The happiest husbands I met weren't trying to win every disagreement. They weren't keeping score. They weren't turning marriage into a competition. They had something else. Trust. The kind of trust where a man can look at his wife and follow her lead. You know what? You've got this. And here's where things get interesting. Do men secretly want to be led, or are they just tired of carrying the entire load by themselves? There's a big difference. We're going to come back to that because there's one emotional experience these men talk about over and over again. It's not what you'd expect. But first, there's one mistake almost everybody makes when they hear the words wife-led marriage. They think leadership means control. Those aren't the same thing. Think about the strongest couples you know. Did one person control the other? Probably not. What you probably saw was confidence, respect, and trust. The freedom to be their authentic self. I've noticed something that may be the reason why so many couples struggle. It's about who's leading. Many men aren't looking for a woman who makes them smaller. They're looking for a woman they believe in. Someone who can step forward and say, "I've got this," and actually mean it. A woman whose confidence calms the room instead of competing for it. Who knows where she's going and isn't afraid to say, "This is the direction we're taking." And here's the part that fascinates me. A surprising number of men don't find that threatening. They find it incredibly attractive. Why? Because there's a difference between giving up control and finding alignment. I think that's what many people miss about a healthy female-led relationship. It's not about a man losing his voice. It's about choosing to trust the right women with the lead. Think about it. People follow strong leaders every day. At work, on a team, in a business. Not because they're weak, but because they believe in the vision. So why is it so hard to imagine that same dynamic at home? What if a man looks at a capable, intelligent, emotionally grounded woman and thinks, "You know what? I trust your judgment." What if following her lead isn't a sacrifice, but a choice? A choice built on admiration instead of obligation. A female-led relationship flips that script. Maybe that's why these relationships resonate with some men. They're not chasing power. They're chasing partnership. They're looking for a strong woman to trust, respect, and to follow. Maybe the biggest secret of all, being supportive and of service, completes them. Perhaps that's one of the quiet truths behind a healthy female-led relationship. He's secure enough to walk beside a strong woman, support her leadership, and know that her strength doesn't diminish his. It only strengthens the relationship they are building together. Which made me ask a different question. What if men are attracted to the peace they find inside a wife-led marriage? Now here's where I want you to stay with me, because this next part made me rethink the entire topic, and that leads to an even bigger question. What if the men who choose a female-led relationship aren't giving up anything at all? What if they've discovered something the rest of us are only beginning to understand? Remember that emotional need I promised I'd reveal? Here it is. I think they're looking for a place where they can finally put their guard down. A place where they can follow a confident woman lead. A wife-led marriage creates exactly that feeling. Because they found a partner they trust enough to share life's weight. I think that's the secret. They secretly want someone they can lean on. Someone who has their back. Someone who can step up and take control. And maybe that's what so many people misunderstand about wife-led marriages. Now, I know this isn't going to be everyone's cup of tea. That's perfectly fine. The point isn't that every marriage should look the same. The point is that maybe we've misunderstood what many men actually need. Respect, trust, partnership, peace. That's exactly what I was talking about in my last video. If you watched Why More Men Are Choosing a Female-Led Relationship, you're probably connecting the dots right now. If you didn't, you might have missed the first half of the story. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below. No judgment, just honest conversation. And before you go, watch Why More Men Are Choosing a Female-Led Relationship. This conversation will make a whole lot more sense. And I'll see you in the next one.